of water there for you. So, as I said before, if you ever feel like you get a dry mouth or you're parched, just take a sip of water, okay?
Okay.
All right. Now we're going to continue with cross-examination. So, Mr. Carlos, go ahead.
Just a few more questions for you. Before we broke, you talked about going under the freeway underpass, right? And you said
Yes.
you saw some people there, right?
Yes.
Do you recall the two guys jumping out from the...
I was walking down, they just jumped over a bridge thing and hid. And I didn't know why they did that. And it just made me nervous.
Did you think they were following you?
I didn't know what to think. I was just scared.
Do you remember telling someone that you thought they were following you?
I didn't know if they were following me. I just didn't know why they were there. I was afraid they might.
Ms. Bell, my question is, do you remember telling an officer that you thought they were following you?
I don't know if I probably did think they were following me. I just didn't know why they'd hide.
Ms. Bell, the question is, did you tell the officer that you believed these people were following you?
I don't remember telling the officer anything about that.
Anyway, refresh your memory if you ever see a transcript of your...
Okay.
Do you have a transcript? It's on page 5.
Okay.
It's easy to look at. Actually, it's right there. I just want you to read it. I just want you to read it. No, read it to yourself. When you're finished reading, go ahead.
What's I told him, officer?
Just that one section.
Yeah, I'm sure of that, but I didn't know I shared it with the officer.
Okay. Now that you've read it to yourself, he's going to ask you a follow-up question. So wait for the question. Go ahead, Mr. Carlos.
Did what you read refresh your memory? Just yes or no?
Say that again. Did
having-
I tell the officer?
Okay.
Did it say? I guess I did. I didn't know I did.
The question to you is, having just read the transcript, did that refresh your memory as to what you told the officer? Yes or no?
Yeah,
Yes.
but I already shared that.
Okay. So you did tell him that you believed that two people were following you.
I didn't know if they were following me. I was scared. I was just scared.
The question is, ma'am, Ms. Dell,
Yeah.
I'm just asking when you made the statement to that officer.
I didn't know that I did. I didn't know that I did.
But clearly you did make that statement.
Yeah, I guess I did.
And that would have been like the day after, right?
It was the day after the rape.
Likewise, the day after, you said earlier that you didn't tell Christina Garvey that Kevin made you wash yourself. You didn't say that.
No, I never said that.
And likewise, did you tell Christina Garvey that he, meaning Kevin, took advantage of you? You remember using those words?
Say that again?
Did you
Is
tell-
that I don't know what words I used. It doesn't sound like my words, but I don't know what I said to Christina. I just know she made me open up. I cannot remember
Can't remember
anything of our conversation, just that she told me to tell the sheriffs.
Okay. So you're telling me that you don't remember anything that you told her about what happened to you?
No, I don't.
Okay, so if
I don't remember our conversation. I just remember talking to her.
and someone you don't recall telling anybody that Kevin took advantage of you. You don't recall telling
Anybody? You mean after the rape?
after the evening, yes.
After the evening, no. All my friends found out, which I didn't want them to know. I just shared it with Christina and Sherry, and then it seemed like, those were the two people, and then other people would ask questions.
Okay, so Ms. Doe, let me ask you this. So you said all my friends found out.
It's like they all knew, but I didn't tell them at first.
Can you just give me a number? How many people were? What's the universe here? How many people are here?
I don't know. They were just there for me. They were supporting me.
I know, but how many people? Like 10, 15?
I don't know how many.
All right. So
I don't know how many.
a
Because a lot of them aren't homeless anymore. So I can't I don't know how many.
So there's a group of people who, after the incident, know somehow that you were taken advantage of by Kevin,
Right,
right?
yes.
Okay. And Kevin would be the person driving around in the big shiny Hummer, right?
The Hummer.
And the person who has been, in the area, making, contact with you for the better part of
Acquaintances.
the
But
better
just
part.
make
Okay,
sure.
sorry. Then he's done talking, okay.
Yeah, he has to completely finish the question before you give your answer. So, Mr. Carlos,
That's how I am in real life.
I know in the courtroom, we have
I
to,
know, I'm sorry.
we can't talk over each other because the court reporter here can only take down one person at a time. So please,
Okay.
make sure he's finished speaking and give me
Okay.
a whole question before you give your answer.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead,
I'll
Mr.
try.
Carlos.
So these are the same people that, heard that Kevin had taken advantage of you. These people also know that he drives the Hummer and he's in the area.
Objection lacks foundation and calls for speculation.
Overruled, you can answer if you know.
I don't know if they talked about the person.
All right,
I just-
next question.
And as far as you're aware, if you are aware, if it's you, who else did you talk to about, besides law enforcement, who else did you talk to about?
My brothers.
Okay. And finally, do you recall, when we talked earlier about the district attorney's office assisting you financially, remember that?
What, say that again?
We talked about the district attorney's office assisting you financially after this event and before the preliminary hearing. Remember that?
Assisting, are you talking about 2 weeks before the court?
What,
Or what are you talking about?
well, do you recall you received a gift certificate to Target for $200? You got that, right?
That was when it was right before court. Before that, I didn't get anything.
Right, but you got $200 from them before court, from them being the
I
prosecutor.
don't remember how much it was. I just know it's like 2 weeks before court, they did put me in a motel and paid for my food.
Right, so that would, you were in the hotel from the 26th of June the 27th of June to the 12th of July. Does that sound familiar?
Wasn't it, didn't I go to, I don't really know the dates. I just know it was for 2 weeks and it was right before court.
Okay, so for a couple weeks, you were off the streets, you were in a hotel,
A motel, yeah.
with, a bed and shower and everything, right?
Yes,
And you were also given money for food,
yes,
and you were given a gift certificate to Target.
yes.
Nothing further.
All right, redirect.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Doe, just those last couple of questions about when it was that you stayed in a motel and what you were given by the district attorney's office. Do you remember whether or not there was a postponement of the preliminary hearing from June 28th to July 11th? Do you remember that happening last year?
I think so.
When you say that you were staying in a motel, were you given any cash, any actual money or currency to buy any food?
I think I was given just $20 for just things like I need. Like buying shampoo or something.
Personal items, right?
Yes,
Were you given a gift card to purchase groceries for yourself?
yes,
Were you actually driven to the motel and then driven to court when you were needed?
yes.
Now, in preparation for your testimony in trial, have you also been put into a motel in order to be brought to court?
Yes. Just these last 2 days.
And were you in fact staying there last night and the night before, just in case you may testify as early as yesterday?
Yes.
Now, did you report this crime by the person you knew as Kevin because you thought the district attorney's office might put you in a motel?
No, I didn't know that. I didn't know how the courtroom worked. I thought he'd be seeing a lawyer. How would I know?
Let me ask you this. This morning, Mr. Carlos asked you a number of questions about your prior statements and your testimony at the preliminary hearing. And Mr. Carlos specifically said, you've never said before that the man had a weapon under his sweatshirt. Do you remember that question this morning?
Yeah, yeah.
Isn't it true that at the preliminary hearing, you were asked, was he holding on to you while he was having sex with you in that way? And you responded, I can't remember.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
Were you asked what happened after that? And you answered, I was just waiting for it to be over, and then he turned around and ejaculated, and then he told me to put my clothes on and get in the car.
Mm-hmm.
I got in the car, and he put a head on. He had like something underneath his sweatshirt. I thought I was dead. I thought that was the end of my life. Do you remember testifying to that?
I know that's, I don't know what I shared at the preliminary. I just know that's what I thought I saw.
Your Honor, well, would it refresh your recollection to read the transcript of the preliminary
Sure.
hearing? Can I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Page
for counsel? Yes, of course. Beginning on page 210, line 28, and the portion I just read extends on to page 211 until line 6. Just directing your attention to the bottom.
I
I'll
can't.
make it larger in a second.
No, this is the preliminary, this is
Just
the
do-
court
go ahead and take a
hearing.
second.
This
Yeah,
is-
just read it to yourself, don't read it out loud.
So,
Yeah.
beginning there, and
Oh.
continue reading. Let us know when you're done reading. Does that refresh your recollection as to when you made that statement at the preliminary hearing?
It's just so long ago.
Remember saying that?
It feels like ages ago. I know I thought that. I didn't remember sharing that, but I remember being afraid.
And everyone understands that it's been some time. This was last July.
Yeah.
But does that refresh your recollection? Does that remind you that you testified to that at prelim?
No, not really.
Okay. So then let me ask you, do you remember testifying when asked, you mentioned that he put on a hoodie, is that right? And I'm referring to
Yes.
line 17.
Yes.
And you responded, yes. After he got in the car, he put on a hoodie.
Uh-huh.
Do you remember that?
Yes.
And were you asked, did you believe that he may have had some form of weapon or something?
Yeah.
Referring to the something being under his sweatshirt. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And you answered yes?
Yes.
And you were asked, is that what you were describing? And you answered yes, something under his sweatshirt.
Yes.
And then you were asked, when you say that you thought you were done, what do you mean? And you
I
said,
thought sorry.
and how did you respond if you remember?
I just thought it was the end of my life.
Did you say, I thought I was going to be dead, I thought it was the end of my life?
I don't remember that. I just thought it was the end of my life.
Is that in fact what you testified to then and what you were thinking when this happened?
That's what I was thinking when this happened.
Now, you spoke to the sexual assault nurse examiner the same day that you reported this to the police, correct?
Yes.
When you spoke to the sexual assault examiner, I know we touched upon it during your direct examination, but she asked you about what had happened the night before, right?
Mhm.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
All right.
I can't remember, I think she talked to me alone with two women.
Objections asked and answered.
Oh, okay, sorry. I think,
Just
I think so,
just a
with
moment.
another lady.
Wait, just a moment, there's an objection. The objection is that it was asked and answered about what she told the sexual assault nurse?
She spoke to it.
Okay, well, I think it's foundational, the court will allow it. Next question.
Thank you. Do you remember, in fact, telling the sexual assault nurse that you thought that he had a weapon of some sort?
I don't remember.
Would it refresh your recollection to refer to the narrative portion of the section of the sexual assault nurse's report?
Mhm.
Is that a yes?
Oh,
Is that yes?
what do you want to do? You want me
Would
to
you
look
like to
at?
read, would you like to read it to
Sure,
refresh your memory?
Sure.
I just need to remind you that when you say mm-hmm
Yes.
instead of yes,
I
the
know.
record's not clear, so we'll always ask you to clarify that.
That's okay.
Counsel, that's page 9 of 10 on the sexual assault nurse examiner's
I
report.
can't read that.
Here, I'm going to direct you to the specific part so you can take a look at it.
That's the last paragraph. Does that refresh your memory of what you told her?
Not really, but
Okay.
I mean, I can't imagine not sharing.
Didn't you tell her, we got in the car and got dressed? I told the guy he had a weapon or something.
Mhm.
I said, please just take me home.
Mhm.
He said, if you tell anybody, I will murder you, and he looked straight ahead.
Mhm.
Is that what you remember telling the nurse?
I don't remember, what I told her, the nurse, because I talked to so many people that day and repeating. And so I don't.
At best you sit there today, were you attempting to be honest and accurate with the nurse and the deputies and the detectives who talked to you about what happened?
Yes. Yeah, that is.
Just one moment, Your Honor.
All right.
Nothing further, thank you.
All right, any recross?
Ms. Doe, when you spoke to the SART nurse, you told her that this guy Kevin put his hands around your throat, correct?
I share my story with so many people. I don't know exactly what I shared with her. I can't imagine not leaving that part out.
Well, I mean, you knew that you were there for an examination of your physical
Yes,
self, correct?
yes.
And you knew that the questions were all related to this assault that you sustained, correct?
Yes.
So you would have probably talked about the hands in the throat.
I'm sure I must have.
Okay. Do you recall whether you told that nurse that this person put his hands around your throat in a way that he wouldn't leave any marks?
I probably did because I thought he was really smart.
Okay, so it's your
Just because he ejaculated and he's like, it's like he's not trying to leave anything behind.
So it's your memory then that you may have told her that this person, put his hands on your throat and it was in a way that would not leave any marks.
Yeah, he had
No.
for somehow, just the way he did it and how he did it and how high he did it, that's what I thought. I'm not a nurse, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a police officer. That's the way I thought of the situation.
Question, Ms. Doe, listen to my question.
I know I can't believe so, I'm sorry. Okay, go ahead.
Listen, my question is, did you tell the nurse that?
I could have, because that's what I thought.
Even then, you could have told her that, right?
I could have.
And isn't it true that you told her that you were being strangled for like 2 minutes?
It wasn't strangled, it was choked.
Choked?
I can't remember my conversation with her. I talked to so many people that day.
And how long do you think you were being choked for?
It was, I don't know how long it was.
Was it a minute, 2 minutes?
I don't know how long it was. He was just telling me not to scream anymore, and if I scream, he'll murder me or choke me to death. I don't know which it was, and I could barely talk because my voice box or whatever it was. I was just, please, if you don't hurt me, I won't scream.
So you're
I'm
telling-
just very tired, sir.
So you're, we're almost done. We're almost done. Okay? I promise, we're almost done. So you said your voice box was injured?
Yeah, I don't know if it was injured. I was just talking funny.
Right. So did you tell that to the nurse? Did you tell her that your voice box was hurt, you're talking funny because you were strangled?
I don't know if I told her that. I just told her that. I'm sure I just told him that, please don't hurt me. I won't scream if you don't hurt me.
I'm asking you what you told the nurse.
I don't know what I told the nurse. I talked to so many people that day.
Okay. Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, anything further?
No, thank you.
All right, can this witness be excused?
She may.
Your Honor, I'm requesting that you remain subject to recall.
Okay,
Yes.
all right, but she's done for the day.
She is.
All right, so you are done for the day. You are excused for today, but you are still subject to recall, which means one of the parties may ask that you come back to testify. So you're not released from the subpoena yet. You're still subject to recall, but you're done for the day.
Okay.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you, sir.
Have a nice day, ma'am.
Oh, okay.
You can go out the back.
Okay.
Do you have everything? Yeah. Okay, have a nice day. Next witness.
Thank you. The people now call Deputy Chad Latonio.
All right.
You do solemnly state that the testimony you are about to give in the matter now pending before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
If you would, please have a seat at the witness stand. And if you would, please state your name and spell your first and last name for the record.
Chad Latonio, first name C-H-A-D, last name L-A-T-O-N-I-O.
Thank you.
All right. Good afternoon, Deputy Latonio.
Good afternoon.
Direct examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. Deputy Latonio, please tell the jury what you do for a living.
I'm a deputy sheriff for the San Diego County Sheriff's Department.
How long have you been with the Sheriff's Department?
I've been with the Sheriff's Department approximately 6 years and 3 years in patrol capacity.
Are you currently in a patrol capacity at the Encinitas substation?
Yes, I am.
As of May 13th and into May 14th of 2018, were you working as a patrol deputy in the area of Encinitas?
Yes, I was.
On May 14th of 2018, did you receive a dispatch to respond to the Encinitas Transit Center to obtain an initial report of a sexual assault?
Yes.
Do you recall what time it was that you responded to the Encinitas Transit Center?
It was approximately 2 p.m.
Now, on the 14th that afternoon, did you come in contact with a woman by the name of Jane Doe 2? That's how we're referring to her for purposes of this trial. Is that okay?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Now, when you spoke to her, did she tell you that a man named Kevin had she had met him about 6 months ago.
Yes.
When you spoke to her that day, did she tell you that he had pulled up next to her and asked if she needed assistance when she was walking with her luggage?
Objection,
Yes.
on the hearsay, this testimony has to be.
It is admissible as a prior consistent statement or evidence code section 791. Do you want to be heard on that?
Yes, Your Honor, that this,
No, not in front of the jury. I mean at sidebar.
yeah, please.
Okay. Right, we'll do it at sidebar. So on the record. All right, you can all stand up and take a quick break if you want. And we'll give the court reporter a minute to hook up here. We all set? Okay. We are now meeting in the presence of the jury, and Mr. Owens, you can continue your direct examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. Did Jane Doe number 2 tell you on May 14th, when you met with her at the Encinitas Transit Station, that approximately 6 months back, she had met a black male adult who goes by the name of Kevin?
Yes.
Did she tell you that she was walking with her luggage when Kevin pulled up next to her and asked if she needed help?
Yes.
Did she say that she told him yes?
Yes.
Did she say that Kevin then helped her and her luggage go from point A to point B, where she was driven by him?
Yes.
Did she say that over time that she had brief contacts with Kevin around Encinitas?
Yes.
Did she say that the contacts consisted of various greetings and passing?
Yes.
Did she say that she was never in any dating relationship with Kevin?
Yes.
Did she say she never had any sexual relations with him and never did anything that would lead him to believe she desired sexual relations with him?
Yes.
Regarding the events of the prior evening, did she report to you what happened on May 13th of 2018?
Yes.
Did she tell you that she was staying or hanging out with her two friends, Christina and Mike?
Yes.
Did she say that at about 8 p.m. or sometime thereafter, a black male adult pulled up in his black Hummer and asked her to grab coffee with them?
Yes.
Did she accept that invitation and get into the Hummer with them?
In other words, you're asking if that's what she told him?
Is that what she told you?
Yes.
Did she just give you a physical description of the male?
Yes.
What was the description she gave you?
She said the male was approximately 6 feet to 7 feet tall. He was very, he had a very muscular build. He weighed over 200 pounds. He had black hair, brown eyes.
Did she say whether he had any facial hair or not?
Clean shaven.
Did she describe his age?
She said he was in his 30s.
Did she say what he was wearing?
She said he was possibly wearing all black because that's what he typically wears whenever she sees him.
Did she describe whether he had any tattoos?
Yes.
How did she describe his tattoos?
She said he had abstract line tattoos on the right arm and a half a sleeve on the left arm. She wasn't sure the design on the left arm.
Did she describe the right arm as being a sleeve tattoo?
I would have to refer to my report to refresh my recollection. I believe it was the right arm that had the line, the abstract line art.
All right. If it would refresh your recollection, please do. And I am asking you as it relates to his right arm. Directing your attention to page 6 of 8 in the first paragraph, third line.
It was the right arm that had the sleeve tattoo with thick line patterns.
Did she say that he also had half a sleeve tattoo on his left arm?
Yes.
And she wasn't able to give you a further description of the patterns on the left arm, was she?
No.
Did she describe the Hummer that he was driving as a newer model?
Yes.
Was she unable to recall any other specific characteristics about it?
She said it was black, but she couldn't recall anything specific about it.
Where did she say she went when she got into the Hummer with him? Where did he drive her?
He drove north on Vulcan Avenue, and then he turned eastbound on Encinitas Boulevard, and then southbound on El Camino Real.
At that point in time, did she believe she was going to get coffee with him, according to her statement?
Yes.
What did she say? What did she say she was thinking as she was being driven now to this area down El Camino Real?
She said she became a little bit wary because there weren't any coffee shops open around that time. So she was wondering if he was taking her to Denny's.
Did she refer to Denny's as being the one in Del Mar possibly?
Yes.
Did she in fact tell you that she asked the person she knew as Kevin if he was taking her to a Denny's in Del Mar?
Yes.
And did she say whether he responded?
Can I refer to my report?
Yes, if it would refresh your recollection. Please do. Second paragraph, third line of page 6.
He replied yes.
Did she describe a place where the person she knew as Kevin then made a U-turn and pulled over?
Yes.
How did she describe that place?
She said she was on Manchester Avenue. She believes that they passed a Chevron near the I-5 freeway. And then after they passed the 5, he then made a U-turn and continued north on El Camino Real from Manchester Avenue.
Did she say what she began to think at that point in time?
May I refresh my recollection?
Yes, please do. And while you do that, let me ask you a follow-up question.
She said it seemed too late for coffee shops to be open.
And specifically as to what she was thinking at the time after he had made a U-turn, could she tell you what was going through her mind?
She began feeling suspicious and questioned Kevin's motives.
Now, just so the jury's aware in terms of your report writing, let me ask you this. Do you prepare a police report shortly in time after an initial statement is actually obtained from a reporting party?
Yes.
Did you do so in this case?
Yes.
Do you recall when specifically you drafted your report based upon Jane Doe 2's statement on May 14th, 2018?
Had to have been at least a few hours after the incident.
Can you just explain to the jury how it is that you prepare a report in relation to obtaining the statement? What's your regular habit and custom?
Typically after we take a statement, or take any report in general, we try and complete the report by the end of shift.
And when you're actually taking the information from the reporting party, are you taking notes down on a deputy issue or on a department issued notepad while they're providing you with the information?
Yes.
And do you take those shorthand notes down consistent with your training and experience as a police officer?
Yes.
Do you then draft a report based upon the notes that you have obtained from the reporting party?
Yes.
Now, as it relates to this statement, we're going through piece by piece based upon what she told you there at the Encinitas Transit Center on the afternoon of May 14th, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So when you asked her about what happened and she began to describe this to you, were you jotting down notes contemporaneously with when she was making the statement?
Yes.
Now, did she tell you after the U-turn and she began to grow suspicious where it was that the person she knew as Kevin ultimately parked his Hummer?
Yes.
How did she describe that location?
She said it was on a shoulder somewhere on Manchester Avenue.
Did you ask her whether or not she may recognize the area if you took her to it?
Yes.
And what'd she say?
She said she possibly could recognize it again.
Did she say what happened after Kevin parked the Hummer?
She said she exited his vehicle and then approached the passenger side where she was seated.
What did she say she was then thinking when he approached the passenger side after getting out of the Hummer?
She said she began to feel fearful.
Did she say what she did?
She said she locked the doors.
What did she say happened after that? What
He
did he do?
unlocked the doors with his key fob.
And what did he do after unlocking the doors?
He told her that they were going to have sex.
Did she tell you what she said back after he said we're going to have sex?
She said, please don't do this,
Did she say how many times?
at least 3 to 4 times.
Did she say how the person she knew as Kevin responded to her when she said, please don't do this?
If I could refresh my recollection, just so I know verbatim.
Please do. And did you in fact put it in quotes within your report?
I did.
How was it that Kevin responded to her when she said, please don't do this?
We're going to have sex. It's a done deal, we're going to
Judge,
do
you guys
this.
reading from the report?
Well, just for, if it's in quotes, just for sake of accuracy, did you put it in quotes exactly what she told you?
Yes, I did.
All right, I will allow it to make sure it's accurate. You can go ahead and read it directly from the report, the part only in quotes.
It's a done deal, we're going to do this, I wouldn't fight it.
All right, next question.
Thank you, Your Honor. What did she say she did after he had said that to her?
She began to take off her pants
Did she say why she took off her pants?
because she was scared.
Did she say whether or not he helped her remove her pants?
She couldn't remember.
Did she say he may have helped her, but she couldn't remember because she was scared?
Yes.
Did she say whether or not she was wearing underwear?
She said she was not.
Did she say whether she was wearing the same pants while she was speaking with you that she had worn at the time of this incident?
Yes.
Now, did she say whether or not she had washed them at any point in time between the incident and when you were speaking to her?
Your Honor, hearsay, these questions weren't even asked, I believe.
They were, Your Honor.
This testimony was elicited. Well, time out.
So the pants that she was wearing, she could not recall.
Okay, I'll allow it. Overruled.
See, she said she had not washed the pants.
They were the same pants that she had worn during the assault?
Yes.
Now, did she tell you what the person she knew as Kevin then did right after he may have helped her remove her pants, but when her pants had been removed?
Yes.
What did she say that the man did?
He pushed her up against the passenger's seat of the vehicle with her back against it, and then pushed her legs up towards her head.
Did she say what he then did after he pushed his legs up towards her head in that way?
He put his penis in her vagina.
Did she know whether he was wearing a condom?
He was not wearing a condom.
Did she say what he then did?
He had sex with her for approximately 1 to 3 minutes, and then turned her around so that her back was facing him.
Did she say that he pulled her out of the vehicle, stood her up, and bent her over the front passenger seat?
Yes.
Did she say that he then penetrated her anus with his penis?
Yes.
What did she say she did after he penetrated her anally?
She said she started screaming.
What did she tell you on May 14th that he did after she started screaming?
He then pulled his penis out, turned her around. He choked her with both his hands. And he said, if you don't stop screaming, I'm going to kill you.
What did she say back to him as he was choking her with his hands?
She said she'd cooperate.
Did she specifically say, and did you specifically put in quotes, "I won't scream if you don't hurt me"?
Yes.
Did she say that the man she knew as Kevin then turned her around again, bent her over, and proceeded to have vaginal intercourse with her?
Yes.
Did she say how long that then lasted after he had choked her in the way she described?
About 5 minutes.
Did she say what happened after he continued having sex with her vaginally?
He then pulled out and ejaculated.
Did she say where he ejaculated if she knew?
She believed he did not ejaculate inside of her, and he did not ejaculate on her clothing.
Did she say if she saw where he ejaculated?
She She did not.
Now, what did she say the man she knew as Kevin told her after he had ejaculated?
He said he had her put her clothes back on and get inside the car, and he told her that if she told anybody, he would kill her.
Did she say where she was dropped off by this man?
She said it was somewhere on Manchester Avenue near an apartment complex.
Now, did she say whether or not she had any belongings with her when she was in his vehicle?
Yes.
Did she describe the belongings that she had?
Yeah, it was a black fanny pack filled with miscellaneous personal items.
Did she say whether she had a purse with her?
She described that as her purse.
Okay. Now, after you had spoken to her about what had happened, did you explain to her that based upon what she had reported to you, that there would be a detective who would be assigned to the case to follow up with her?
Yes.
Was she willing to meet with that detective?
Yes.
Did you explain to her the possibility of completing a sexual assault examination with a nurse?
Yes.
Was she willing to participate in one?
Yes.
After you spoke to her and took her initial statement, or let me ask it this way, is it fair to say that you were the very first point of contact from law enforcement with Jane Doe II on that afternoon?
Yes.
After you spoke to her, did you make arrangements to contact a detective who would follow up with her?
Yes.
Was that a detective by the name of Adrian Moses, at least
Yes.
one of the detectives involved?
Yes.
Did you likewise have any communication or coordination with Detective John Johnson from the sexual assault unit?
No.
Is it fair to say that you passed it off to the area detective who then later passed it off to the sexual assault unit?
Yes.
When you were explaining to her her options as it related to the sexual assault examination itself, did you tell her that she had the option of having a support person with her?
Yes.
And did you tell her that she had the option of discontinuing the SART examination if it became too painful for her?
Yes.
After you spoke to her and took this initial statement, did you transport her to the San Diego Sheriff's Department substation in Encinitas?
Yes.
How would you describe her demeanor at the time that you were talking with her on May 14th?
She was a bit emotional, but I had never talked to her before, so she seemed normal to me.
Thank you. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Right, Ross? Thank you, Your Honor. Officer Antonio, she told you that they had about 10 interactions, is that right?
Yes.
And she never told you that they discussed sex for money, did she?
No.
And you specifically asked her about were there any sort of sexual discussions or anything like that nature between Kevin and Jane Doe II?
I believe I asked her if they had ever had any sort of sexual relationship in the past, and if she had ever conveyed any sexual inclination toward Kevin.
And at that point, she did not tell you that, well, Kevin asked me for sex for money. She didn't tell you that, did she?
No.
She told you that this individual choked her, right?
Yes.
And did she tell you that the individual choked her in a way that it wouldn't leave any marks?
She did not.
She said that he just put both hands around her neck and choked her very hard, right?
She didn't say very hard. She just said that he choked her.
Oh, he choked her hard enough that she couldn't breathe, right?
Are you asking what she told this deputy?
Correct. She told you that he choked her so hard that she couldn't breathe.
May I refer to my report?
Sure, that would help correct your reference.
She did not say that he choked her to the point where she couldn't breathe.
Have you viewed the body-worn camera footage of you interviewing her?
I have not.
Okay. She didn't tell you that he ejaculated in the dirt so as to not leave any evidence, did she?
She did not. She didn't know where he ejaculated.
Right. In fact, she said that she didn't even see where he ejaculated, right?
Correct.
All she knew was is that it wasn't on her,
She believed it wasn't on her. Correct.
but she didn't know anything other than that, right?
Correct.
Nothing further.
All right, anything further?
No, thank you.
All right, can this witness be excused?
You may.
Yes, sir.
You can? Okay, all right. Thank you very much, Deputy Latonio. You are excused.
Thank you.
Have a nice day.
You too.
Thank you. Next witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. People now call San Diego Sheriff's Department Detective Adrian Moses.
All right. Does anybody need to take a break at all? Don't forget, if anyone ever needs to take a break for any reason, don't be bashful, just raise your hand and let me know, okay?
If I could ask you to raise your right hand. You do solemnly state that the testimony you are about to give in the matter now pending before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? If you would, please have a seat at the witness stand. And if you would, please state your name and spell your first and last name for the record.
Adrian Moses, Adrian Moses.
Thank you.
All right, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Direct examination?
Thank you, Your Honor. Deputy Moses, can you tell us what you do for a living?
I am a sergeant with the San Diego County Sheriff's Department.
Pardon me, congratulations on the promotion.
Thank you.
I'll refer to you as sergeant. Now, what is your current assignment with the Sheriff's Department?
I am a patrol supervisor for the Vista Patrol Station.
Prior to your tenure and promotion to sergeant of the Vista Patrol Station, did you work as an area detective within the Encinitas substation of the Sheriff's Department?
I did.
As of May of 2018, were you working in capacity as an area detective there?
I was.
On May 14th of 2018, were you assigned to the initial follow-up investigation to a first crime report taken by Deputy Chad Latonio?
I was.
And did you in fact meet with and take a further statement from a person by the name of Jane Doe II?
I did.
Now, I'm going to ask you about some of the follow-up investigation that you did, specifically as it relates to identifying a potential suspect based upon the description provided by her. Was the description given to you, as well as Deputy Latonio, of a black male driving a newer black Hummer in the Encinitas area with tattoos that extended from his wrist up to his shoulders?
Yes.
Did you, based upon that information, have any potential suspects that may match that description?
A detective that was assisting me had said that he had been informed there was possibly someone who matched that description.
When you spoke to Jane Doe II, did she provide you with a name that she believed was the suspect?
She described him as introducing himself as Kevin.
Who was the suspect that you had based upon the information of the physical description given to her, the description of the vehicle, and your conversation with another detective?
I'm sorry, could you ask that again?
What was the true name of the suspect that you then had based upon all of the information at that point?
Kellen Winslow.
And how was it that you arrived at Kellen Winslow being a potential suspect in the case?
The detective who was assisting me had spoken, I believe, to Deputy Latonio and through their conversation, felt that he matched the description that she had given.
And is it the information, at least as it related to what you did next in the investigation, were you aware that Deputy Latonio had had prior contact with Mr. Winslow while he had been driving at Black Hump?
Objection, Your Honor, hearsay?
Not offered for his truth, Your Honor.
Overruled, the answer will be permitted.
Yes, as I recall, Deputy Latonio had told me he took a.
And that, if that's
yes.
the only information that I'm asking.
All right, Mr. Knapp, why don't we approach sidebar on the record, just briefly?
alert the court and any media present that I'll be displaying an exhibit showing Jane Doe 2,
All right, so you're gonna put a photo of Jane Doe number 2 on the screen at this point?
if I may.
All right, go ahead.
Thank you. Showing you what's been marked as Court's Exhibit 2 for identification. Do you recognize the woman depicted in that photograph?
I do.
Who is she?
Jane Doe 2.
Now showing you what's been marked as Court's Exhibit 26 for identification. Do you recognize what this is?
Yes.
What is it?
It's a Sheriff's Department photo lineup admonishment.
And may I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Showing you in a hard copy, so hopefully it's a little bit better, easier for you to read. First beginning with Court's Exhibit 26. Clearly there's a very large black box redacting out any personal information of the person that was shown this photo lineup, but can you explain to the jury if you personally administered this photo lineup to Jane Doe 2?
I did.
Do you see a date that's associated of when you did it?
Yes.
What's the date?
5/14/2018.
And in terms of what you did when you explained to Jane Doe 2 the process for a photo lineup, did you in fact read verbatim the admonishment that's depicted in this exhibit?
I did.
Can you generally explain to the jury what that admonishment includes?
The admonishment is a standard script, if you will, that we give to people to explain to them that we're going to show them photographs, and it goes into descriptions of remember that people can look different in photographs. They may have cut their hair, they may have shaved, they may have gained weight. There's variations that will be present, and to not base it solely on exact representation of the person. It also goes into details about making sure that the person who's identified is the person who actually committed the crime, that it's important to remove anyone that had nothing to do with the crime, and it tries to establish the mindset for the person before they look at the picture.
Did you exert any pressure in any way or any suggestion to her of who the potential suspect may be when you provided her with this admonishment?
No, I did not.
Can you just tell the jury how you showed her the photographs?
I read her the admonishment, and then I placed the photographs in front of her on a table.
How is it that a photo array or a six-pack lineup is generated by the Sheriff's Department?
We have two different ways that we do it. This particular one is 6 photographs placed together in a row, 3 on top and 3 below. And they're, I don't know the size of the photographs, but they're a little bigger than your driver's license photo.
Showing you Court's Exhibit 27. Looking at Court's Exhibit 27, do you recognize it?
Yes.
What do you recognize it as?
That is the photographic lineup that I presented to Jane Doe 2.
You see that in this photographic lineup, the background of all the individuals is the same.
Yes.
Are you aware of whether or not this is a DMV photograph of Mr. Winslow?
It is.
And is that in fact one of the databases by which the Sheriff's Department has access to obtain any potential photographs of criminal suspects?
Yes.
Now, was there a notation, a handwritten notation on this photographic lineup after speaking to Jane Doe and providing her with the admonishment?
Yes.
What did she write there?
She wrote her initials and circled the number 2.
And that would be her writing, is that correct?
Correct.
Looking back at Court's Exhibit 26, on the bottom portion, did you complete that portion that stated that a photo lineup was shown to Jane Doe 2?
Yes.
And did you in fact note that witness identified photo number 2?
I did.
This was on May 14th, correct?
Correct.
And then you noted your own name as being the lineup presenter, is that right?
Correct.
Where did you conduct your, or where did you first meet Jane Doe 2?
I met her in my office at the North Coastal Station.
Is that where you spoke to her about what had happened?
Yes.
Did you participate in assisting her with the sexual assault examination process?
No.
Who was it that transported her to the hospital in order to complete that process?
I transported her to the hospital.
Based upon the statement that had been provided to Deputy Latonio and then the follow-up statement that you received from Jane Doe 2, was the sexual assault unit of the Sheriff's Department notified of the need for a call out from that unit?
Yes.
Did Detective John Johnson essentially take over the investigation from you as the area detective at that point?
Yes, he did.
Thank you. Nothing further at this time.
All right, why don't we go ahead and do this? Let's take our afternoon recess. We're going to be in recess for 15 minutes. Please remember the admonition, don't discuss the case with anybody or form or express any opinion. Leave your notebooks on your chair. We'll see you back here in 15 minutes. And Sergeant All right, we're back on the record. All jurors are present. The defendant and all counsel are present. All right, cross-examination. Yeah, you finished, correct?
I didn't know they finished.
I did.
Yeah, he's finished, so we're ready to go. Cross-examination.
Deputy Moses, now you spoke with Jane Doe 2 on 5/14, is that right?
Yes.
And that was one day after the incident?
Yes.
Okay. And you spoke with her in person, right?
I did.
And you wrote a report.
Yes.
And in that report, you're documenting all the important things that she told you, right?
Documenting the incident to refresh my memory.
Right. And she told you, when she was talking about the sexual encounter, she told you that this Kevin pushed the victim down on her back, lying on the passenger front seat. Is that right?
Correct.
And then Kevin inserted his penis into the victim's vagina. Is that right?
Yes.
So at this point, they're having intercourse. Kevin is facing Jane Doe 2, and they're having intercourse. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And then, after a short while, Kevin pulled the victim out of the vehicle, bent her over, facing the passenger seat, and started to have sexual intercourse with her. Is that right?
Yes.
So we're picturing this. He takes her out of the vehicle, turns her so she's facing the vehicle and he's behind her. Is that right?
Yes.
And they have sexual intercourse, correct?
Yes.
Vaginal penile intercourse.
Yes.
Okay. Now, when he first did this, you said that Jane Doe 2 told you that when Kevin bent her over, he initially put his penis in her anus. Is that right?
Correct.
And Jane Doe 2 did scream, right?
Yes.
Okay. So that was right when he pulled her out of the car, turned her around, and came from behind. That was when he inserted the penis into the anus. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And that caused her to scream.
Yes.
Okay. So after she screams, that's when she told you that Kevin said something like, "Stop screaming, or I'll murder you," right?
Correct.
Then, the victim, Jane Doe 2, told Kevin she wouldn't scream if he would stop hurting her, right?
Yes.
So at this point, there's been no strangulation, right? No choking.
Not that I recall.
Right. Kevin then had penile, vaginal, sexual intercourse with the victim from behind, right?
Yes.
So, fortunately, we'll picture this, but he takes her out of the car, right? He comes behind her. There is penile anus contact, correct?
Correct.
That causes her to scream. They have a conversation where she says, "I won't scream if you don't hurt me," right?
Yes.
And then he says, "If you scream, I'll murder you," right?
Yes.
And then they start to have intercourse, vaginal, penile intercourse, correct? From that same position.
Yes.
Okay. Now, then Kevin turned her back, around on her back again, in the passenger seat, and had continued to have vaginal, penile, sexual intercourse, right?
Correct.
Okay. So they've changed positions 3 times during this sexual encounter, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, as Kevin was continuing to have sexual intercourse with her, as she now faced him, right?
Yes.
Then he wrapped both of his hands around the victim's neck and strangled her, right?
Correct.
So that's after they were having sex from behind. He turned her back around. They were having regular intercourse. And while they're having the intercourse, Kevin puts his hands on her neck, right?
Yes.
Okay. Jane Doe 2 told you that she did not lose consciousness and she could still breathe, right?
She did.
Okay. However, she says that Kevin held her neck very tightly.
Yes.
And so he's holding her neck while he's having intercourse with her, right?
Correct.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Anything further?
No questions, thank you.
All right, can this witness be excused?
You may.
Mr. Watkins?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, thanks, Sarge. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Next witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. People now call Christina Garvey.
All right. You didn't take an exhibit with you, did you? Is that your report?
This is my report.
Okay, all right. All right, thanks.
You do solemnly state that the testimony you are about to give in the matter now pending before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Did you get that?
I'm sorry, I didn't get a response. I do. Okay, thank you.
If you would, please have a seat at the witness stand just to the right of the judge. And please watch your step.
You just go around the left side of the TV screen there, and you can have a seat right there on that chair on the witness stand.
May I retrieve the exhibits, Your Honor?
Sure. All right.
And if you would, please state your name and spell your first and last name for the record.
Okay. Christina Garvey, Christina Garvey.
Thank you.
All right, good afternoon, Ms. Garvey.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask if you could move that seat forward, and there's a microphone right in front of your face, a little closer. Just have to make sure we keep your voice up so all the jurors can hear your testimony, okay? The attorneys have some questions for you. We're going to start first with Mr. Owens. All right, Mr. Owens, direct examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Ms. Garvey.
Afternoon.
May I ask you how old you are?
41.
What part of town do you currently live in?
Encinitas.
Is it fair to say that you've spent some time previously in your adult life living on the streets of Encinitas?
Yes.
Are you currently experiencing homelessness, or have you found a place to stay?
I found a place to stay.
And I don't mean to ask you such personal questions, but I'm going to talk to you a little bit about an incident in May of 2018. Do you know a person, and I'm going to ask you to refer to her by the name of Jane Doe 2. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Yes.
May I approach you on?
Yes.
Showing you what's been previously identified as Court's Exhibit 2. Do you recognize that person? Is
Yeah.
that Jane Doe 2?
Yes.
That's the person who we're going to talk about, okay? Can you tell me, before May of 2018, how long had you known Jane Doe 2?
Not for too long, actually. I want to say maybe 6 months, probably.
How would you describe your relationship with Jane Doe 2? Friends, acquaintances, whatever it may be.
She was an acquaintance.
How
A
often?
friend, I guess you can say.
How many times would you say that you spent time with her?
Not too much time, but
Do you recall Mother's Day on May 13th of last year?
no.
Do you recall a night where you borrowed Jane Doe 2's phone and you then saw her the next day?
Yes.
So that's the night that I want to talk to you about, okay?
Okay.
First of all, where were you when you were hanging out with Jane Doe 2 and you borrowed her phone?
At the Encinitas Transit Center.
Was that a place that you would regularly hang out during that time?
Yes.
During that time, were you sleeping on the streets primarily?
Yes.
Now, can you tell me who was with you and Jane Doe 2 that night when you had borrowed her phone?
It was
If
just,
you remember.
It was just her and I.
Do you remember if there were any other persons present?
No.
Okay. So then, in terms of that night and your recollection of it, I know we're talking, it's over a year ago, but is it fair to say that that you don't recall a lot of the specific details?
Yes.
Let me ask you about what you do remember, okay?
Mhm.
So, was there a point in time where a car pulled up that Jane Doe 2 eventually got in?
Yes.
Do you remember seeing that car?
Yes.
What type of car was it?
It was like a Jeep, like a big Jeep.
Do you remember what color the big Jeep was?
I'm gonna say it was black.
Do you remember what type of Jeep it was?
No.
Now, did you see anybody inside the Jeep, if you remember?
No.
Did you recognize that Jeep at all?
No.
Did you know anybody who drove a Jeep like that?
No.
Tell me about how you parted ways with Jane Doe 2. What did you talk about? If you remember.
She, like, nothing really, didn't really talk.
So tell us what happened when you remember seeing the Jeep pull up.
What was that? Can you repeat that again?
I can. Are you a little bit nervous?
Just a little bit.
I understand there's a lot of people that are watching you. There's a microphone in front of you. I know that there's cameras around, but I just need to ask you about what happened and what you remember that night, okay? Now,
And make sure you keep your voice up, okay?
Okay.
And maybe scoot the chair, does the chair get a little closer?
Yeah. There.
Well, just so you're closer to the microphone, okay? All right, and make sure you keep your voice up. Go ahead.
thank you. What do you remember happening after that black Jeep pulled up?
I remember seeing Cindy walk up to the Jeep.
Don't use her name, okay?
I'm so sorry.
Just,
Yes.
we're referring to her as Jane Doe number
Okay.
2.
Mhm.
All right, so
Apologize.
go ahead.
That's okay. Just go ahead. After you saw Jane Doe 2 walk up, what do you remember happening?
I just remember seeing her talk to whoever was driving.
Did you see the person she talked to?
No.
What do you remember happening after she talked to the person who was driving the big black Jeep?
She came back to where I'm sitting and grabbed her rollabout suitcase and left.
When you say that she grabbed her rollabout suitcase, can you describe, if you remember, what type of case it was?
It's just a standard black suitcase handle that you pull.
Now, were you using her phone when she left?
Yes.
Did she offer you her phone?
Yes.
Is that something that you had done before, or was that the first time you had borrowed her phone?
I had asked her to borrow her phone and I had it on me.
Which, did she voluntarily let you have it?
Yes.
Was she a fairly giving person?
Yes.
Now, when she left, did you actually see what happened after she grabbed her things and walked away?
No.
What time of night would you say it was, roughly, as best you could remember?
I want to say maybe around 9.
Is that your best recollection? Now, do you know how long she was talking to the person by the big black Jeep before she left?
Just a couple of minutes.
Did she say goodbye to you?
Yes.
Do you know if she said who she was going with?
No.
Did you ask?
No.
Do you remember that the vehicle was somewhat unique looking?
Yes.
You previously described it as very boxy and looked new.
Yes.
Did you think that it looked like a cross between a Jeep Rubicon and a truck?
Yes.
When was the next time that you saw Jane Doe 2 after she left in that type of car that you described?
The next morning.
Do you remember about what time it was that you saw her again?
It's fairly around 9 or 10 in the morning.
Where were you when you first saw her that next morning?
At the transit center again.
And tell us, what happened after you saw her again?
She told me some things that had happened to her.
How was she acting before she told you what happened?
She's very quiet.
Was that unlike her?
She's usually pretty quiet.
What was it about the way she was acting that caused you to question her about what happened?
She just seemed worried. She appeared worried.
What do you mean by that?
Just, it felt like there was, something that was on her mind.
And let me remind you to keep your voice up, okay? And again, make sure you take caution not to use her true name, okay? All right, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, so she seemed worried, it seemed like there was something on her mind, and she was being quiet. Is that fair to say?
Right.
Now, did you think that something was wrong?
Objection, relevance.
Overrule, I'll allow it.
Not really, not right off. Didn't think there was anything wrong.
When she was acting that way, what do you remember saying to her?
I don't remember.
Did you ask her what happened?
Not sure exactly how, it was because I had her phone.
And what happened?
That's right. I had her phone, and so that's how the conversation began with, I wish I would have had my phone.
Do you remember her saying that?
Yes, after I gave it to her.
And she said to you, when you returned her phone to her that next morning, she said to you, I wish I would have had my phone?
Yes.
You recall that?
Yes.
Now, did you ask her what happened?
Yes. At that point, I believe I did.
When you asked her what happened, did she tell you that she couldn't tell you because he might hurt
Objection,
me?
it's leading.
Overruled, it's foundational, it's yes or no.
Can you repeat that again?
Did she tell you that she couldn't tell you because he might hurt me?
Objection, leading.
Sustained. You don't need to answer that question, you can rephrase.
Thank you. What do you remember her saying to you after you asked her what happened?
Objection, hearsay.
Overruled, you can give it, she can answer.
She said that she was taken somewhere, and
Did she tell you what happened when she was taken somewhere?
she said that she was raped.
Did she tell you the name of the person who raped her?
I don't remember.
Did you speak to a detective with the San Diego Sheriff's Department from the Encinitas station a couple of days after you spoke to Jane Doe 2 on May 14th?
No,
You never spoke to a detective from the Sheriff's Department?
no, not a few days. No.
Okay. Now, regarding what happened, do you remember when a detective by the name of Frank Felicia came and spoke to you on May 17th of 2018 at about 5 p.m.?
Yes.
That's what I'm asking you about when you
Okay.
spoke to the detective. Do you recall giving a statement to the detective from the Sheriff's Department on May 17th?
Yes.
And I know we're talking now in court over a year afterwards. Is it fair to say that it was more fresh in your mind back in May 17th, 3 days after this conversation on May 14th?
I don't recall it being that soon when I spoke to the detective.
All right.
Again, make sure you keep your voice up, and you might want to lean forward a little bit and get closer to the microphone. You have a very soft voice, and it might be hard for all the jurors to hear you, okay? All right. Next question.
Thank you, Your Honor. When you spoke to the detective 3 days afterwards, was it fresh in your mind what Jane Doe 2 had said to you?
Yes.
Did you remember it better then than you might remember it today, over a year later?
Yes.
Were you attempting to be honest and accurate with the detective when he spoke to you?
Yes.
Now, do you remember telling the detective, when it was fresh in your mind, what Jane Doe 2 had told you about what happened on May 13th?
What was the question?
I know it's difficult, that was a long question.
Yeah.
Do you remember telling the detective at that point what Jane Doe 2 had told you happened?
Yes.
Now, as you sit here today, do you have an independent recollection of the specifics of what she told you?
Not really.
Thank you, Your Honor. May I allow her to refer to the report of her statement based upon her lack of recollection at the present time under past recollection recorded?
Yeah, you can have, will it assist you to take a look at it?
Would you like to look at that statement?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Your Honor, this is not a transcript of her interview.
Correct, it appears to be a report.
Now, taking a look at that report, have you had an opportunity to review that report before your testimony today already?
Yes.
And I don't know if I could think of a more intimidating environment to speak in public than one like this, but are you a little bit nervous today?
Yes.
I understand that. Everyone in the room understands that, okay? So let me ask you something else. Looking at that report, directing your attention to the bottom paragraph on page 2 that's in front of you, take a moment and review that paragraph to yourself. And once you've done that, go ahead and look up and let me know that you've done that.
Okay.
Okay. After having reviewed that report, do you remember making that statement to the detective?
Yes.
And when you spoke to the detective, did you recall some of the things that she had told you?
Yes.
Specifically regarding the man that she said had raped her, did she use a name?
Yes.
What was the name that she told you?
Kevin.
Did she have a last name, or was it just Kevin as far as she knew?
Just Kevin.
Did she say that she had seen him maybe 6 times before?
Yes.
Now, when you first talked to her and you asked her what had happened, did she tell you that she couldn't tell you because he might hurt me?
Yes.
Did you ask her again what happened to her?
Yes.
Object is hearsay again, all these statements.
Right, well, it's sustained if it's offered for past recollection recorded, because there's been insufficient foundation laid under 1237, but it sounds like you're attempting to refresh her recollection with a statement?
Then the people would submit that she's refreshed her recollection and given her responses under present recollection refresh.
Okay, then overruled on those grounds.
Your Honor, I'd ask that she not be able to read from a document that she did not prepare.
If there's been insufficient foundation for past recollection recorded, she does not need to prepare it for that, but that's not why there's insufficient foundation. But if she's refreshed her memory, we can take the statement away from her, which is now in front of her, so let's go ahead and take it away from her.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And if you need to refresh your memory at any time during the course of your testimony, you just let Mr. Owens know, okay?
Okay.
All right, so next question.
After she said she couldn't tell you because he might hurt me, do you remember asking her again what happened?
Yes.
Do you remember what she told you?
She said that she was raped.
Did she tell you who had done it? Did she use a name?
No objection, hearsay, Your Honor.
Overruled.
Just Kevin.
It comes in as a prior consistent statement.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Next question.
Did she tell you anything about what the person she knew as Kevin would do to her if she told anyone?
No.
As you sit there today, do you recall specifically what she said to you about what he would do to her?
No.
Would it refresh your recollection to refer to the report of your statement from May 17th on that issue? Would you like to read it again?
No.
Okay. Would you like to just leave here?
No, I'm fine.
All right. Let me ask, because I have to ask you some of the questions about that conversation. Are you telling me that she did not say that Kevin told her that he would kill her if she told him?
Leading, Your Honor.
Your Honor, it's impeachment based on her statement.
Overruled, but you might want to rephrase the question without using a double negative, so go ahead and ask the question.
As far as you recall today, sitting here now, you don't recall whether or not she told you what Kevin would do to her if she told someone, is that right?
That's right.
Did she tell you that Kevin told her that he would kill her?
Yes.
Mayor, just so the record's clear, I want to interpose a continuing objection to this entire testimony.
All right.
To inadmissible hearsay.
All right, the objection will be noted, we'll discuss it later, but it comes in under 791, and it appears as always laying the foundation for a prior inconsistent statement based on lack of memory, so it'll be allowed for that purpose.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Subject to a motion to strike well, we will discuss after the jury leaves, but it meets the foundational requirements, so go ahead.
Now, when you were speaking to her, did she say that he forced himself upon her?
Yes.
Did she say that he threatened her,
No.
as far as you recall?
Yes.
Now, when you were speaking to the detective, were you attempting to tell him everything that you remember her having told you that night?
Yes.
And based upon your recollection today, is it fair to say that it's a little bit foggy?
Yes.
You do recall her having told you that a man named Kevin had raped her, is that right?
Yes.
And you did see her leaving on May 13th in a large, black, newer, boxy type Jeep.
Yes.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Cross?
I'm sorry.
Cross-examination?
Yeah, so Christina, how long have you said you only known her for a couple months before this incident?
Yeah.
When you say that, you have a yes?
Yes.
Okay, so then you said that at the time you were also on the streets,
Yes.
and so that's how you knew Jane Doe?
Yes.
Right. And you knew her just as somebody who was on the streets like yourself, right?
Yes.
You go out to, did you go to the community center for food?
Yes.
And then you would hang out at the, you would be at the bus stop and train station?
Yes.
Is it a fairly normal place for you all to be?
Yes.
And so, in terms of, are there a lot of people on the streets in Encinitas, or just a handful?
Just a handful.
Okay. You guys kind of know each other by sight or not by name?
Right.
Right. But
Well,
that's-
both.
Okay. And you sort of look out for each other, I take it?
Yes.
It's because it's not a safe place to be on the streets.
Right.
Right. So, on this particular, let me ask you this, before May 13th of 2018, right, had you seen this black vehicle, the Jeep thing that you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay. How many times have you seen it?
Not too many times, like once or twice.
Once or twice?
Mhm.
But you remember what it looked like,
Yes.
right? You remember it was a bright, shiny, kind of newer vehicle,
It was newer.
right? Like expensive looking vehicle.
Yes.
You ever see the driver?
No.
Did you see Jane Doe talking to the driver on any occasions?
No.
Okay, so prior to May 13th, you'd never seen Jane Doe speaking to the driver of the black Jeep thing.
Right.
So how is it that you saw the Jeep thing in the first place? Just driving around?
Right.
Did you see it? Did you see the Jeep ever stop at or near Jane Doe?
No.
Did it ever come near you?
No.
By the way, next to the train station, is there a bike store there, do you know?
Yes.
All right, and that's really close to the train station?
Yes.
So, on the 13th, you were there with your friend Dylan. Is that Dylan? Who were you there with? Oh, Mike, I'm sorry, Mike.
When I was where?
On the 13th of May, you're with Jane Doe and a friend of yours.
Yes.
That friend's name is Mike. Is it?
Yes.
And you know Mike from the streets also?
Yes.
You guys, what were you doing prior to being in the parking lot with Jane Doe?
What do you mean?
What were you doing?
I was just sitting there with her.
Okay, with Jane Doe?
Yes.
Okay, so were you with her? Did you go to dinner with her?
No.
You didn't go to dinner with her?
No.
You didn't celebrate Mother's Day with her?
No.
So when did she come to meet you? Or how did you guys get together?
On that night?
Yeah.
She was there already, and I came walking and saw her and sat with her.
Okay. No one's drinking anything?
No.
So you sat down, are talking to her, it's about what time?
It was evening, around 9.
Okay, it's dark already?
Yes.
Okay. And you said on direct testimony that she had with her a big wheelie suitcase.
Yes.
Okay, that's where she had her stuff in.
Right.
Do you recall that?
Right.
She didn't have like garbage bags filled with clothes or anything?
No.
So the car rolls up, you see your friend Jane Doe, she goes over to the Jeep, right?
Right.
Did it appear to you like she knew the person? If you know.
Yes.
So she went to the Jeep, you stayed where you were with your friend Mike, right?
He wasn't there yet.
He wasn't there yet.
No.
So it's just you stayed seated.
Yes.
Before she got up and ran and went over to the Jeep, did she say, hey, there's my friend, I'll be back?
No.
So she just got up and went over there.
Right.
Did the Jeep like honk a horn or anything like that?
No.
Did it flash its lights at you guys?
No.
Did he wave over for you guys to come over?
No.
So Jane Doe saw the Jeep and then she immediately got up and went to it.
Yes.
Okay. So and this is all within eyesight of you, right?
Right.
So how far away were you from the Jeep itself?
Not far at all.
Can you use something in the courtroom here?
I mean, yeah, the Jeep is probably right behind you.
Not right behind me, or like where the rail is? Or
Yeah,
where
right
it's
where the rail is.
All right, for the record, that distance is 28 feet.
Okay. So from that distance, you have a pretty good view of your friend and the Jeep, right?
Right.
Okay. You can't hear what they're saying,
No.
but clearly, to you at least, you can tell that your friend knows the person in the Jeep.
Yes.
Okay, so then she goes back. Well, when she went to the Jeep the first time, did she take her suitcase with her?
No.
Okay, so she went up without the suitcase, spoke to this person in the Jeep for, what, 5 seconds, 10 seconds?
Right.
Really short?
Right.
And then she came back really quick to you, didn't say anything to you about where she was going, right?
Right.
And then grabbed her big suitcase, rolled it out, and put it into the Jeep. Yes?
I didn't see her put it into the Jeep. I just saw her grab it.
Grab it? Okay. But she walked back to the Jeep, she got into the Jeep, you didn't see the suitcase anymore, so it might have been in the Jeep, right?
Right.
And then she kind of drove away, right?
Right.
And you had her phone because you were using it. Okay, so there was nothing really out of the ordinary about that sort of event, was it?
No.
I mean, there wasn't anything that caused you any concern, you just still had her phone, that's all.
At that moment, right.
Okay, so then you go to the next day, right? And the next day is when you run into Jane Doe again.
Right.
And what time was it when you saw her?
I don't recall the time exactly. It was in the morning.
It was in the morning, okay? And you said that she's normally very quiet, right?
Yes.
Right, is she the type of person that goes out and screaming in the streets and,
No.
ranting and raving?
No.
No, so she's fairly quiet?
Yes.
Okay, so that morning she was fairly quiet.
Yes.
So that's kind of normal, right?
Right.
Okay. So did she volunteer this information to you, or did you say, hey, what happened? How did that happen?
She just appeared worried, like I was saying, and I had asked her what had happened.
Okay. And that's when she said something that, you know, where she had her cell phone the night before, right? She told you that.
When I gave it to her.
Right. And then she told you that he took advantage of me. Do you remember those words?
Yes.
Okay, those are the words that she used. So,
No, I don't remember her saying he took advantage.
okay.
Not those words, no.
You did an interview with the police, right? You just read the report.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Sure, is that a yes or a no? I'm sorry?
What was that?
Well, when you say mm-hmm or mm-mm, we don't know if you have to say yes or a no.
Oh, yes.
So the question was, you did an interview with the police, right? You just read the report? What's the answer, yes or no?
Yes.
All right, next question.
okay, and so I asked you whether Jane Doe told you that, and I'm using a quote, he took advantage of me. Do you remember that?
I don't remember.
I'll show you would be page 2 of the document that you just used to refresh your memory. And I want to direct your attention, I'll put you in paragraph 2. And if you read down to the bottom of paragraph 2,
Just read it to yourself.
okay, so now having read that, and you know, you spoke to this officer really close in time to this event.
Right.
Is that what you said to them?
I don't recall saying that.
Okay. So you are disputing that Jane Doe told you that he took advantage of you.
It could have been between he took advantage of me or he raped me. So he raped me.
Right, but you
I may have said that to the person that was interviewing me. He took advantage.
right, you said
Sorry.
you said that Jane Doe told you that the man took advantage of you. Those are the words that you used to the police officer.
Okay.
Isn't that true?
Yes.
Okay. Those are words you attributed to Jane Doe. Yes?
Yes.
Jane Doe also told you that she had seen this man, Kevin, about 6 other times. That seem about right?
Yes.
And that she also told you that they had coffee, meaning Jane Doe and the man, had coffee on 6 different occasions.
Yes.
Okay. You remember that?
Yes.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
Okay. We need audible answers from you. If you just nod your head, that doesn't get into the court reporter's record. So you have to say yes or a no.
Okay.
All right, next question.
And another thing that Jane Doe told you was that he, meaning the man who she was with the night before, made me wash myself with soap.
Yes.
Okay, you specifically remember that?
I do.
Okay. So I guess after the assault, he said you need to wash yourself with soap.
Yes.
One moment, yeah. How much contact did you have with Jane Doe after this event?
Not too much.
Not too much?
No.
As in, you were still on the streets, right?
Yes.
She was still on the streets.
Yes.
How long were you on the streets for?
Talking about after May 13th?
After May 13th.
Not sure. Not too much longer. Like 4 months.
So is this the extent of any real conversation you had with Jane Doe about this event?
What was that?
Is this pretty much the extent of the conversation you had with Jane Doe about this event?
Yes.
So after you had this discussion with her, advised her that she should call the police. You told her to call the police, right?
Yes.
How much conversation did you have with her after that? I mean, were there
Not much.
not much?
No.
Did you talk about the court proceedings?
No.
Did you talk to her about getting a lawyer?
No.
Did you talk to her about calling the police, right?
Yes. To report it. Yes.
Right, to report it.
Mhm.
Right, but you didn't tell her about getting a lawyer.
No.
You didn't tell her about the guy in the Hummer, the expensive Hummer. You didn't talk about that
No.
because you didn't know the guy, right?
Right.
So and then finally, just back to where this all started, when the Hummer rolled up and Jane Doe went to the Hummer, she came back. She didn't even say goodbye to you. It was real quick, right? She just grabbed her stuff and left.
Yes.
And that's when you were still on the phone, and so she really wasn't. I guess she was in a hurry.
Right.
And then further.
All right, anything further?
Yes. The phrase that was just used by Mr. Carlos, that Jane Doe number 2 told you that he took advantage of me, those were your words to the deputy, right?
Yes.
Were the words that she used when you were talking to her, in fact, did she say something happened to her?
Yes.
Did she say that she really could have used her phone last night?
Yes.
Did she say that she could have used her phone because something bad happened to her?
Yes.
When you asked her what had happened, did she say that she couldn't tell you because he might hurt me?
Yes.
When you asked her again what happened to her, did she say that something bad happened?
What was that?
Did she say that something bad happened?
Yes.
Did you tell her that, did you then ask her if he messed with you? And she responded, yeah, he did?
Yes.
Did she tell you that she knew the guy, but that she really didn't want to talk about it?
Yes.
Did she then use the word rape and say, in response to your further questioning, that Kevin raped her?
Yes.
Do you remember her telling you that he would kill me, using that phrase?
It's asked and answered, Your Honor.
Sustained, you don't need to answer.
It's based on cross-examination, Your Honor.
It's still been asked and answered. The answer will remain from her previous testimony.
Didn't you tell the deputy that she didn't tell you, that Jane Doe 2 did not tell you where she went, that she was forced to have sex with this man?
Yes.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, anything further?
Just to clear up, so Jane Doe told you, these are her words, that he took advantage of me, correct?
Yes.
Those aren't your words, you're not making those up, right?
Right.
Those are the words that she spoke to you and you then relayed back to the detective.
Right.
Thank you.
All right, anything further?
No.
All right, can this witness be excused? All right, thank you very much, Ms. Garvey, you are excused. Just walk around the TV set there and you can find your way out of the courtroom. Next witness?
People now call Detective Frank Felicia.
All right.
Raise your right hand. You do solemnly state that the testimony you are about to give in the matter now pending before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? If you would, please have a seat at the witness stand. And if you would, please state your name and spell your first and last name for the record.
Okay, Frank Felicia, Frank Feliccia.
Thank you.
All right, good afternoon, Detective.
Afternoon.
All right, direct examination?
Thank you, Your Honor. Detective Felicia, can you tell the jury what you do for a living?
Yes, I'm a detective with the Sheriff's Department.
What's your current assignment?
I'm a sexual assault detective.
Prior to your tenure as a sexual assault detective, did you work in a capacity of an area detective at the Encinitas substation within the Sheriff's Department?
I did. It was an area and juvenile investigations as well.
Did you assist with the investigation into a reported sexual assault that had occurred on May 13th, 2018, involving a woman who we're referring to as Jane Doe II?
Yes, I did.
On May 17th of that day, did you in fact locate and interview a woman by the name of Christina Garvey at approximately 5 p.m.?
I did.
When you spoke to her, where did that take place?
It took place at the Community Resource Center.
Is that located in the coastal Vulcan area of Encinitas?
Yes.
Now, when you spoke to her, did you ask her about a conversation that she had had with Jane Doe II on the morning of May 14th, the morning after the reported rape?
I did.
Did you talk to her about the things that Jane Doe II had said to her?
Yes, I did.
When you talked to her about what Jane Doe II had told her, did she in fact relay the substance of that conversation?
To the best of her recollection, she did.
And at the time that you were obtaining that statement from her, did you in fact prepare a report shortly after receiving that direct statement?
Yes, I did.
And in the course of preparing your report, did you do so based upon the notes that you took contemporaneously with the taking of the statement from Ms. Garvey?
Some notes and audio recording.
And when you had in fact prepared your report, were there a number of times when you included quotations of specific statements that Ms. Garvey had given you?
I did.
Now, when you talked to her about what happened, did she in fact tell you that Jane Doe II had loaned her phone?
She did.
Objection, Your Honor, it's cumulative.
Sustained.
Your Honor, as it relates to the failure of recollection of the last witness, people would submit that that we would be able to elicit the testimony from this detective who received the statement itself.
All right, we will approach sidebar then and discuss it. On the record.